Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Huh? What's going on? Huh? That's a little predicament in modern age that we are dependent on technology, which is so available. And some subjects can't be just explained verbally. Some visual requirement. We can talk about cosmology, but it's not going to be so easy to understand without having certain images displayed. Doesn't matter if it's the same.
These intelligent process from a laptop.
Okay, lights, can we have the lights off? Anyone saw the first part of this presentation some 2 months back? Was anyone present? No?
Is there any
No,
audio?
1, 2, 3,
Is there,
4. Okay. Huh?
is there any audio?
No. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of fast forward through what we discussed. If you have any questions, of course, I hope there would be some questions, then that we can discuss at the end. But try to note them down, at least in your mind. And I'll just give a little kind of a preview of part 1 that we had presented earlier. So let's begin because time is running. It's a quite exhaustive presentation because cosmology and astronomy, of course, they are quite elaborate branches of science. Just like any other branch of science, it can occupy one's whole life and practically lifetimes also. There is an unlimited ocean of information and of course practical application to some extent. But we will just give some idea how at least cosmology, astronomy, definitely also, but not today, how they are related to our life, how they affect us to some extent, and how they were integral part of human existence. So we'll just briefly go through it. Okay. So we pointed out there are so many different things in the universe. Like you see, these are different images taken by the mostly Hubble telescope. They're quite amazing, no? I just so many different colors, shapes, forms, phenomena that is manifested within the universe. Of course, we don't know much about it. We can just have certain perception and guess a lot. But there are many, many amazing features that are displayed within the universe. And of course, many, many more that we still have no clue or access to. And then we talked about various famous personalities who talk about Vedic cosmology. They give a lot of credence, they give a lot of gratitude to the knowledge that is presented in the Vedic scriptures. So it's not that you think that this is some kind of mythology. No, it's a science. So Voltaire was very famous. Bailey, he was one of the members of the French Academy and Academy of Sciences, so very, very prominent personality. So he examined different palm leaves, that means different information that was in regards to astronomy, different details about it, and he was very, very, very impressed. Okay, then Laplace, all heard about Laplace, he gives the credit to the Vedic cosmology. I'll just go. Then Swedish general Ferdinand Björnstjerne. So he said a lot of very credible things. Then Elphinstone Road is gone. Now it's, what is it called now? How's it called? Bravo David, no? Very soon nobody will know anymore about Elphinstone, but anyway, it was prominent at his time. So he's also giving a lot of credit to astronomy practice. And then John Playfair, mathematician. So we discussed that, so I'm not going to go into details about it. If anybody wants, we can give some more information about it after the presentation. So many of them, Sagan was very famous. Fritjof Capra, he also. Okay, so then we pointed out how astronomy and architecture have been very closely connected also, because the science of Vastu also incorporated certain states of external universe and internal being of the human life. So that was incorporated within the construction of different, mostly temples. So we pointed out how, let's say you can see here sun rising now, and then passing through one of the Gopura windows at a certain solstices or equinoxes, and then shining over the feet of the deity, and as it would rise, it would illuminate the whole deity. So that would happen only like once or twice a year. And then it would be known that this is a new season starting, and this is the either solstice, equinox. And I've been to one of those temples. There's one in Tamil Nadu, Sri Vaikuntha temples. Very interesting incorporation, and there also in some other places. This is Modera, similar phenomenon, similar integration that has been incorporated. Modera in Gujarat, Sun Temple, same thing, the sun would rise and enter through Mandapam and then to the main shrine. And then of course Sri Lanka, so here 7 walls, 7 different realms of the Vaikuntha spiritual world. And we talked about Angkor Wat, which has almost 18 astronomical alliances. The sun is in full moon, or Amavasya, just like tomorrow is Amavasya. And then the lengths of the different ages, Satya, Treta, Dvapara, Kali incorporated in the lengths of the walls and the moats around, moats representing different oceans of the universe, and then that central tower here representing Mount Meru, and then supporting mountains, and so forth and so forth and so forth. A lot of integration in Vedic cosmology also, which is interesting in Angkor Wat, because they used to be a Vedic civilization. And then we pointed to certain bas-reliefs that from Mahabharata and Ramayana that are found. Then we talked about different time where probably those structures have been constructed, erected. So just like they say the pyramids of Giza could date back up to 10,000 years because they are aligned with the Orion belt, which pretty much was at that place some 10,000 years ago. If you use the computer software, you can, trace things back in time. So in a similar way, Angkor Wat and many temples. In Angkor Wat, I've been there. Very interesting place. There are 72 temples. So the different temple alignments, you can see, they corresponded to the Darko constellation, which was also thousands and thousands of years back. It's like we said, there are different temples like Somnath in Gujarat. It has been raised down 7 times, but on the same place, people would again construct a temple. So the sites are ancient sites. The recent construction may not be so, but the sites are ancient sites. Okay, anyway. So there are many different such kind of incorporations of Vedic cosmology, or let's say cosmology, like we see throughout the world in different places. This is Chichen Itza in Central America. It's very interesting also. There is a shadow, there is a feathered serpent, which actually is kind of like a representation of Balaram. And then when there is sun and shadow falling under a certain angle at a certain time of the year, it gives an image of that feathered serpent. Feathered meaning the steps, and then you can see the mouth of the head of the serpent here. So then that shadow at that certain point would give that impression or that image, and then the people would know that okay, this is now rainy season is starting, or the sowing season is starting, or whatever it is. So they would have idea what to do at that time also. So that was interesting. And then of course different levels, so many steps, 365, ultimately it amounts to the days of the year and so forth and so forth. Anyway, so this is Teotihuacan in Peru, also certain alliances through which they could understood, scientists could understand when it was constructed. That means thousands of years back, because sun would rise at a certain points and set at a certain points and so forth. And we talked about different Buddhist stupas, which also follow pretty much the Vedic cosmology, and they also present Mount Meru and surrounding islands and oceans and so forth. And then we talked also, this is Arun Bat, similar thing. This is in Thailand. I've been there, very interesting place. That also is representing Mount Meru. So Meru is quite famous. And then Borobudur, this is in Indonesia, in Java. First it was built by the Hindu dynasty, first floor, and then somehow they accepted Buddhism, and then it was completed as the Buddhist stupa. It was supposed to be a temple, but again, in the form of a giant mandala, Purusha mandala, representing so many, again, alliances, integration of cosmology and architecture. So then we talked about creation, we talked about secondary creation. They just said, pointed out that this material world is 1/4 of sum total of creation that exists. So how can we understand unlimited quarters of something, no? So then we could divide this in such kind of a way that you can have this unlimited material world and 3/4 of unlimited spiritual world, no? And what is material world? Material world is a reflection of the original spiritual substance. So this would give us some idea about this kind of creation. So as the spider very easily creates the network of its cobweb and manifests its power of creation without being defeated by others, also you yourself, by employment of your self-sufficient energy, create without any other self. So this is how material creation manifests and unmanifests. It's created and withdrawn, annihilated by Mahavishnu, breathing in and exhaling, exhaling and inhaling the material energy, material elements. So Krishna was there in the beginning. That's for our understanding. Of course, everything is eternal. Even this creation, everything goes through the cycles. But for our understanding, Krishna was primary creator or living being. And then he expands in so many different forms. We discussed some of those expansions, and they're amazingly unlimited expansions. We talked about expansions that are there in the spiritual world, Gokul Vrindavan. Then in Mathura, in Dwaraka, Krishna expands and performs different pastimes. If you read the scriptures, you will find so many different interactions that Krishna has through his various forms, has a lot of to be focused upon and relish through such pastimes. And then we talked about Vaikuntha, expansions, different forms of Lord Narayan, and then in Brahmajyoti, Viraja River, and then slowly we descend into the material world, and then here Krishna expands into so many different kinds of Lila, Guna, Shaktavesha, Yuga, Manvantar, avatars, unlimited. And then similar expansions from Lord Balaram also. Then we talked about a little bit Golok Vrindavan, what happens there, what are different pastimes that Krishna performs in all these different forms. We described a little bit spiritual world. And then again descending to Vaikuntha, which is considered a little lower realm in terms of Krishna's manifested potencies. Then we descended down into the material world. And we talked about how material world is created. Mahavishnu manifesting golden eggs, which are the universes. And then we zoomed in the universe, through all the different layers, which is 1/10 times greater than the other. And our universe is just little. You can see that. 4 billion miles in diameter. And it's considered one of the smallest. Of course, the structure we pointed out is same within all the other universes. Then we talked about these different elements that manifest the material world, different modes of material nature. So I'll just go quickly through it so that it's Prakriti state. And then, first of all, what's Pradhan? I said, like, compared to a sleeping woman, then when she's agitated, that's Prakriti. And then pregnant Mahatattva. And then you have delivery. This is universe with the jiva, so this is how material energy is manifested. So we talked about these different elements in combination with false ego in different modes, manifesting all the different karmendriyas, jnanendriyas, mind, universal form, and all other different types of embodied beings. So then we pointed that material creation takes place from solid to gross, and we see different qualities manifested in different elements. The grosser the elements, the more qualities are manifested. And we talk about ether also, that it's a potential element within science also. So extend the theory of geometrodynamics. John Wheeler is a quite known physicist. And anyway, then we talked about different types of creations. That means primary, like I said, is Pradhan, Prakriti, Mahatattva, and then different elements of the world that are their qualities. And then something that Lord Brahma gets involved. Afterwards, he does the finer work and then creates different species of life. Okay, and then different qualities also. So then we talked about universal form, which is a form of Lord Krishna, and it includes all the 14 planetary systems, which are parts of his universal body. They correspond to different levels of his body, like from the feet up till the head. And it's also very interesting when the yogi elevates his consciousness. We know that chakras are energetic points which influence us in various ways. So if we raise our consciousness or life air through those chakras, then we can also, yogi can also leave, when he leaves the body, if the soul leaves the body through any of those levels, it can place itself or send itself to any of these different corresponding levels also of the universe, different planetary systems. So that's very interesting. So that's what when we talked about cosmology and astronomy, how everything on this planet, it's correspond like micro and micro. It's pretty much the same. Like our body, it's also it can be a universe, representation of the universe. And then internal and external state can also be and are connected. So then we talked about different planetary systems. You may say galaxies, and get maybe some idea. So Satya Loka, Tapa Loka, Jana Mahar, and then lower planetary systems which are within Bhumandala. So we talked what is going on, descriptions are given, what are the activities. Let's say in Tapa Loka, obviously the sages meditate, or in Shvetadvip, where Lord Vishnu resides and demigods come and offer prayers, or Svarga Loka, because there are so many descriptions in the scriptures, so if you wouldn't know where is what and what it refers, you're missing something. Of course, you would get some philosophical or spiritual lessons, but if you could connect with the place and the purpose and meaning of it, then the impression and understanding would be much greater. And Svarga Loka sometimes fights between demigods and demons take place, and then Bhuvar Loka, that's Antariksha, with region between sun and the moon, where the subtle beings reside. Bhuvar Svaha, Svarga, no, Bhuvar Svarga, Bhuvar Svarga, Svarga, heavenly planets, Bhuvar. So this is Bhuvar Loka. So it's just between our level of existence and the heavenly or Svarga level of existence. Then we talked about lower planetary systems, described different stories. And there's the Chinese story of a man who entered into the cave and he was seduced by different type of women. Because lower planetary systems are also just like heavenly planetary systems in terms of enjoyment, but there is no sun. That's the difference. There's no concept of time. And one is just so engrossed in sense gratification that it just loses completely the idea of how long, one has been involved in such kind of gratification. So when he came back, somehow he managed to came back, and then he noticed that he didn't recognize anybody. The time has changed so much, and all the people he knew or places have changed. Already everything has been completely different. So anyway, Tala, we said it's just like where Maya Danava is the expert in technology. So many, all these UFOs, whatever this and that, it all comes from them. Okay, Patala, these are Nagas, different serpentine species. They can also change the form, have the ability, they're divine beings, Upadevata type of category. Or like in modern, so to say, lore, I would say they're just like dragons, or like in Japanese or Chinese culture. These are all Nagas. Anyway. And then Sutala, we know the story of Bali Maharaj. These are different Daitya Zendana was living on all these lower planetary systems. And then below, they talked about their hellish planetary systems. There are millions of them. Different kinds of reactions are faced. So those planets are also there. And then we talked about some cosmology in different traditions. We gave some we had some comparative discussion throughout the world. So this concept of 3 different streams being divided, a lot of similarities are there with the Vedic cosmology, or different circular islands and oceans, tree of life, and so forth. So then we talked about our universe. Okay, anybody having any questions so far? Because if I go, maybe you might miss, you might forget about it. Anybody has any question? Because we're really just pointing to what we discussed. We're not getting into details. Anybody has anything? Yes.
Why are pyramids so significant in our daily life?
Why what?
Pyramids.
Pyramids. Did I mention any pyramid yet?
No.
So then, what does this have to do with the pyramid? Pyramid is just like a yantra. Has a certain positive shape. It's part of the Vastu Shastra. It creates or attracts positive energy. So the shape itself, it's a very beneficial shape. But one has to know what to do with it and how it relates to what and which direction, space, so forth. Anything else?
Prabhuji, what do the 4 elephants represent?
4 elephants. Because 2 are pulling from the front, 2 are pulling from the back. No, I'm joking. 4 elephants. There are different elephants. There are elephants on top of the Bhumandala. Our planetary system is called Bhuloka. No, you've heard of it? So it's like just like chapati. No? They have 1 chapati or disc. Okay. So this is how it looks, and that's flat. It's a flat. That's not globular. It's not circular. So then these elephants are balancing Bhumandala. They're living beings, they have this function, and then of course you can't even imagine how enormous they are. They're huge. They're huge. That's like we see, they're bigger than Mount Meru. Mount Meru has 80,000 yojanas. 1 yojana corresponds to 8 miles. So 80,000, 8 miles. So you can understand how big that is. And elephants are a little bigger than that. So they're down and they're up. They're balancing Bhumandala. So when they feel a little scratchy and things move, then you get earthquake. Anyway, they're described as having performing different functions in the universe also. So they have a certain service to do. Okay, but in essence, they're mostly there to balance. Okay. And then we talked about those huge, enormous sizes, like we talked about Airavata, right? Airavata has 4 tusks. So, did we ever seen an elephant with 4 tusks? No, but it's described there in Ramayana. When Hanuman came, they were guarding the Lanka, elephants with 4 tusks. And then even in King Janak's place, I think where Sita's marriage was taking place, there's some description of elephants with 4 tusks, and some other places. So how do we take this? Just mythology, elephants with 4 tusks. So then we pointed out there is something that is known as Gonfoterium, had 4 tusks. No? Very interesting. Okay, anyway. So then we talked a little bit about also some of the comparative details given in, again, Central America, Honduras. Just like we have this Kurma balancing, Kurma avatar, so they also have this turtle altar, cosmic turtle. Yeah. Then Maya Kurma avatar as tortoise also, they have a conception that they had it. Turtle Island and so forth. Then in Japan and China, it's symbolizing longevity. And you can see the snake also, it's very interesting because Ananta is on top of it. Yeah, on top of Kurma, and then he's balancing the planetary systems. So some interesting connection. Okay, it's there in Mongolia also. So then we talked about this Shishumar. Yes, this is Shishumar. Just like we know the different planets moved in a certain way. So how they're moving? How is that going on? So most of the planets or most of the stars are connected. What you see on the top shining, that's a Dhruva-loka. That's a pole star. And they said they're connected with gaseous robes, so just like a chandelier. So that Dhruva-loka, it's on the tip of the tail of Shishumar. Shishumar is delta, you can see, in the middle. And also it's like an imaginary form. Just like if you would, I don't know if you would had this here in India, but we had in the West, you have different dots numbered and then you connect them, you get some shape, no? You had those kind of things? So the different planets like this, you connect them, you get the shape of Shishumar. And then when Shishumar, let's say, moves the finger, yeah? So that's different, let's say, crooked motion of the Mars, which doesn't move in any regular direction, it can move this way or that way, sometimes. So like this, some planets are within that Shishumar. So when Shishumar moves, Dhruva moves, all the other planets moves. But within it, there are certain planets that move in certain other directions. That's because of influence of Shishumar. That's why we have different other types of motions. And then if one would imagine that Shishumar, and that's what usually yogis would do, they would meditate on such a universal form, such part of a universal form. So that it's also given in the Shastra. Okay, so then we described a little bit these oceans and continents surrounding my Mount Meru. So I'll go a little bit. So this is this, and they are circular because King Priyavrata was going after the sun. Is described, created them with his chariot. So they're all double sides from each other, and they're all almost heavenly kind of in nature. They're not earthly, although they're Bhumamandala, but there's like residents are Upadevatas. They're not ordinary human beings. They're kind of like half demigod. So then we zoomed around Mount Meru. We talked about Mount Meru supported by a pericarp. It's like a pericarp supported by different mountains. And it's a golden in nature, and there's so much description, and on top of it, what is going on, each different Dikpal or Devata in charge for different direction has its residence, and then Ganga comes on top of it and then branches out in 4 streams and goes through different varshas of Jambudvip, which is surrounded by salty ocean, having different kinds of islands. One of them it's Ramanaka, which we heard Kaliya went to, Krishna sent, or even Lanka. That's in Lavanoda Ocean. Anyway, and then of course our planet, it's in 1/9 part of these divisions. Divisions are all made by different high mountains, and there is another Himalaya. It's a greater Himalaya, greater Kailash. So then we zoomed, we talked about these different regions, and then saying Bharatvarsha has been flooded due to digging of sagaras, and then we have our planet there, which is globular in shape, or at least Prabhupada said it's just like a petal. Like you have a lotus, no? It's not really like a round circle, it's just like a lotus, it's like that. And that is the shape of our planet. Because that's another point that we discussed, that the whole universe is just like a lotus. Everything's lotus-like. Lotus-like, shaped on the form or image or something in connection with the lotus. Like just like we said, is this Mount Meru, just like that central point, of the lotus flower. And then all these different continents are just like these leaves of the lotus, floating on the different oceans. So the whole universe, and then we know the Brahma, he appeared on the lotus. The whole Satyaloka, practically all the systems are just like that, in that kind of form, that kind of shape. So then we talked about this shape of our planet, spherical in nature, different descriptions given in Mahabharata. So like one it's like a rabbit, and two like a pipa leaves. So then one sage made a drawing, and then he turned it. Yeah, it said Mahabharata, just like viewed from the moon, it looks like this, and then when you turn it around, then this is what you get. You get our planet. Okay. So that's another interesting thing, this Sankalpa mantra. If you do any yagya or anything else, you chant that mantra. So this gives you exactly the time and place. So you can understand what had happened in the past and how much more you can expect to have time in the future. Very interesting. And tells about you as a person performing it, your background, the place you're doing it, and the time. Very interesting, very, very interesting understanding of time and space that has been given in the Vedic scriptures. Now you've heard that. Aditya Brahme, Aditya Praratte, Shvetavaraha Kalpe, Vaivasvatamanvantare, Astavisham Titame, Kali Yuge, Partame Pade, Jambudipe, Bharatvarshe, Bharatkande, Mayavo, Dakshine Parshve, and so forth and so on. Okay, so then we talked about different dimensions a little bit. Because universe is not just one-dimensional or two-dimensional or three-dimensional. There is more to it. So we pointed certain things last time, like Krishna. Krishna can expand in many forms also. That is, there all space is within Krishna, but at the same time Krishna is fully present within every atom. No? So it's not possible to comprehend Krishna's position, of course, in any way, but definitely not only in the three-dimensional space. Okay, so which is the key feature of quantum mechanics anyway, so that's also we are mentioning something, and then okay, and it can give a little idea something about more than three-dimensional space, like and certain point being connected to other points, you know, like the central point, and we keep on adding different points as such, then always all the points will be close to one particular point. So anyway, I won't go through this, I'll just go fast. Just give you some idea if you can if you can see. Okay, anyway. So yeah, okay, so the point is that there was a story of Lord Brahma visiting Krishna, no, in Dwarka. Somebody remembers that story? Huh? Who? You remember? So what happened then?
Arjuna chose the Lord.
Arjuna, there was no Arjuna there. Brahma visited Krishna. Okay, I will tell quickly. So, since you don't know about it, but it's a very interesting story because it illustrates this point. Multidimensional reality. We talked about Banasura. Now, Banasura had how many arms? Who knows? 1,000 arms. So he had 1,000 bows and 1,000 arrows, no? How do you use 1,000 arms? Let's say if I have 1,000 arms, how would I use my 1,000 arms? How is possible? They would, how could I shoot? How could I, it won't work well, no? It doesn't work so well. So if you use only three-dimensional space, it makes no sense, no? It would obstruct each other. But if you use multi-dimensional space, then it's something that nobody could deal with, no? That's why nobody could fight Banasura. So he was looking for an opponent that could match his ability and qualities like this, no? So there is this story, Lord Brahma came to Dwarka and announced himself, and then the guards went to inform Krishna, but then Krishna wanted to play a little trick and then have a little fun, and then he informed them, he asked them to ask Brahma that which Brahma had come. So then they went back and then they asked Brahma that Krishna is asking which Brahma had come. And then Brahma became completely bewildered because there's only one Brahma in every universe. So where is the question of anybody asking which Brahma? There's only one Brahma. So he was completely confused. So he says, so somehow he just stumbled. I mean, Lord Brahma stumbling. He's the creator of the universe practically. So his majority of his body is made of intelligence. We can't even imagine that. But Krishna just puzzled him. So he said, anyway, Chaturmukh Brahma. So then Krishna sent a message, invited him. So when Brahma came, he offered his obeisances. And then what he saw, Krishna gave him the vision. He saw unlimited millions of other Brahmas offering Krishna obeisances. Yeah? And there were different types of Brahmas with 50 heads, 100 heads, 1,000 heads, and a million heads. I mean, Brahma was awestruck. He was so humbled. He saw all of these Brahmas from all the different universes simultaneously offering obeisances to Krishna. He had that vision. Krishna gave him that vision. And he also saw unlimited numbers of Lord Shivas doing the same. So that's the point. Krishna was in one point which was accessible to within all the different universes. And all these different Brahmas, were offering obeisances to same Krishna. So very interesting, multi-dimensional experience. Okay, so now how to understand something within the universe. We also pointed out that it's not just the gross thing, like we're so proud of our eyes or whatever, but any higher accessibility requires karmic qualification. It's not just I want, but what's your, like people would say, I want to see the God. But Prabhupada would say, okay, what's your qualification to see? I want to see Prime Minister. Okay, what's your qualification to see? What's your qualification? Okay, maybe you can see him in 2 weeks. He's coming to Mumbai. Yeah, he will come to Kargar temple opening. Then maybe you can see. But can you have, maybe some personal interaction? Most unlikely. What's your qualification? No? So like this, I want to see Krishna or something I want to see. But what's your qualification to see? So like Arjuna here, we know, to have a perception of universal form, we talked about universal form. Krishna gave him the eyes, Krishna gave him the vision ability to have that perception. So it's not just like scientists, by their own effort, they're trying to understand this, understand that. It doesn't work like that. So this is why different celestial bodies mentioned, or different these planetary systems that we discussed about, we have no access to it. We don't have karma for dealing or relating to any of those. Like just are not qualified. So therefore even scientists said that only, let's say, 5% of the universe is perceptible to us. Only 5%, maybe some heavy elements. What is this some? Neutrons, stars, hydrogen, helium, dark matter, dark energy. None of this we see, except these few things, few gases or something and elements that amount to 5%. That's why Hawking said, either we fail to see 99% of the universe, or we are wrong how the universe began. Well, both. So that's why we talked a little bit now about creation, maintenance, destruction. That's mostly what cosmology is about, how the things began. That's last time, that's how the creation of the golden universes was manifested from Karna, Dakasha, Vishnu. Then maintenance, of course, that's Krishna in the form of Paramatma entering into different atoms. And then destruction, yes, there is annihilation. There are different types of annihilation. At the end of each of Brahma's day, annihilation goes all the way up beyond Svarga Loka, and everything is flooded. And then annihilation of our own body, that's also considered one type of annihilation. For the living being, that's pretty heavy annihilation. Yeah? So that's the third one, due to one's qualitative actions and reactions. Second we mentioned, and the first one is just sum total of annihilation of the universe. So that's when the whole universe is wind up, like we gave that example of the spider back into the body of Mahavishnu. So then we know these annihilation stories. Matsya Avatar, I was just now in South India. I visited the temple. It's the only Matsya temple in the world. We went there to some schools, distributing Bhagavad Gita. So we visited that Matsya temple. Only Matsya temple in the world. And this is the place when King Satyavrata, he found the Matsya. Matsya manifested from there. And then it grew bigger, and then it said that, make the boat, and then store all the sages and, living beings and seeds on that boat, and there was a big flood. Pretty much like you can hear the flood story, which is mentioned throughout the world in different cultures and traditions.
Yeah.
So that's the Matsya story. And then of course once they landed, there is a place, anybody knows where is the place where they landed? In the West people speculate, they have no idea. They have no idea, but we have in scriptures exactly mentioned the place where, the boat and Matsya left the boat. Huh? Anybody knows? I've been to that place also. Huh? Nobody heard? Huh? What? Vindhyachal. Where in Vindhyachal? It's not Vindhyachal, wrong answer. In Himachal Pradesh there is a place called Kulu Manali, no? Heard of it? So Manali, that's where the sages went out, further up to Himalayas to meditate and everything else. And Manu repopulated creation again from that place. So that's how Shastrically given. Okay, any questions so far? Anybody has any? Yes?
What is the function of Mount Meru exactly?
What is the function of Mount Meru? It's the pivotal point. It describes the central point of the universe. And it's a very amazing mountains. There's so many very amazing mountains. There's so many descriptions. It has different colors, different elements, provides so many different kinds of things. Just like when you say Govardhan, what is it? It's a pleasure pastime place for Krishna. Radha Krishna provides everything for them. So for demigods, Meru is just like that. Offers different facilities, so many different things happen. But it's central, pivotal, just like we said, it's just like lotus. Everything is in shape of lotus, no? In the universe. So Meru is that pericarp. central pivotal point. Of course, the hub of the universe, we know it's Naimisharanya, but we are not so far from Meru. So it's pretty much the central. Yeah, okay. Many descriptions about Meru, Sumeru. That's why you hear about Sumerian culture, no? Tradition, civilization, you know? Sumerians, all that comes from Vedas. Yes, Mr. Shiv. Are you asking him or are you going to ask me?
He's saying that when the earth submerged in water.
Okay, when the earth is submerged in water, okay, then? Then it melts, just like a jaggery if you put it in water.
So the place which was.
Huh?
So how did Manu again?
How did Manu again?
He's saying that the earth.
But they had a boat, they were on the boat. No? So when the water was withdrawn, then all the planet resurfaced again. No?
Who made that boat?
Who made the boat? Well, Satyavrata. He was instructed by Matsya. Okay, anything else? Yes.
Prabhu, scientists have found it that same to same like Earth, they have found it many other planets like Kepler's. I think so. Kepler's, they have put it a name of other planet that is same to same, similar. We can say similar to the Earth, but they have seen that there are different species, there are different human living there, and they have predicted that the aliens are once there is an existence of aliens.
Well, the
So
science officially still doesn't recognize existence of alien beings.
Yes.
Neither they will so soon because it will completely smash off their Darwinian theory. Understand? So that's why they're so hard on acknowledging that there are other living beings within the universe. Because it will completely smash the Darwinian theory. So that's why they don't. So I don't know where you heard that story, but that's not official scientific.
So Prabhu, I want means that they are saying that it means there were aliens in space in other planets. Like
Yeah, there are. Vedic culture talks about so many different species, give descriptions of their activities, forms, sizes, this, that, everything is given. We have no issue with it. Yeah. In general, people have no issue with it, except those who support Darwinian theory. They have a problem with other beings being greater than humans. For them, that's a big issue. So different planets have different atmospheres and different elements are more prominent, and that's why there are different types of bodies also. So if anybody judges everything according to their Atmano Manyate Jagat, then they'll have a lot of difficulties understanding what's going on within the universe. Demigods' bodies are way more subtle than our bodies. And the elements there are, in different proportions. Some are like Agni, it's more fiery. Yeah. Or Varuna, or like just like in our planet, can you live in the water?
no.
Our body is not suited to live in the water. We're not fish, or whatever. There are living entities living in the earth. Worms and things. We're not human beings. How are you gonna? It's gonna be very difficult, almost impossible. So there are so many different species throughout the universe that live under different conditions. So if any good scientist would want to understand what's going on, then he would have to reject that misconception that if there is any life and conditions like on this planet, then everything should be exactly the same. It's not. Conditions are different. And there is life, but because of those different conditions, there are different bodies. We because living entity can enter into any type of condition. Living entity can enter into the stone. Living entity can be, within any material shape and emanate it. It's the ability living entity has. Yeah.
But you heard about Elon Musk, he is planning to shift us on Mars. Is it possible?
Okay, good luck. And what are you going to do there, even if you go there? What will you do on Mars? They have no idea what it is. Of course, that will never happen. Demigods will never allow it. Neither humans have that ability. It's just not going to work. It's a nice fantasy. First one has to qualify. Prabhupada wrote a book, Easy Journey to Other Planets. You can read that book. Very interesting. How to go there. But then once you go there, so he had a discussion with one man, and then that man, he said, okay, we can travel now, you gave us the method and everything, but then how will we come back? And then Prabhupada said, there's no coming back. And then the man said, oh, then I'm not interested. Yes.
Prabhuji, in the presentation it was shown that another Shesha has the 14 planet systems above his head.
Yes.
And also the Jambu Dweep, it was shown that the earth is round. So what is the exact shape? Even here it is shown as flat.
It's flat. Bhumandala is flat, our planet is round. So there's different nomenclature describing the earthly planets. When we talk about our planet, it's round. When we talk about Bhumandala, it's flat. So you have to understand from the context and description what it refers to. Because that's also Earth. Bhumandala is also Earth. It's earthly planetary system. Bhumandala, no Bhu, no. But our it's Bhuloka. So you have to understand in context what it refers to. Okay? Yes?
So, Vedic cosmology is so practical and theorized. So why it is not been taught in schools and colleges? And
Why are you asking me?
Why scientists are speculating and wasting so much money?
That's what they're doing with everything. We've rejected Vedic education, and now we are making turn around because we've lost the way. Now again, hopefully, somebody will start figuring things out and using information that's available in the Shastra. Yes?
So where do the other planets exist, in which mandal?
Where do other planets what?
Exist, like in which Bhumandal only?
All these planets are throughout the universe. Throughout the universe, within 14 planetary systems. Okay? Okay.
Every day of Brahma has 1,000 cycles of yugas. So, in every one of these cycles are the same exact events repeated. Exactly.
Okay, so every day of Brahma has 1,000 cycles of yugas, and he's asking whether same events are repeated. Pretty much similarly, yes.
Every
Just
cycle
like we know Ramayana happens, of course Ramayana happens once in a day of Brahma. But every time it happens, it's the same story. Details are different. Sometimes Dasaratha had 4 wives, prominent wives. 2 of them names I remember, they're different living beings. Sometimes, the story is a little bit different, but Jambavan mostly figures it out. He knows what could happen or what follows and so forth. But some details are different, so it makes things always exciting. But again, as we said, the structure, everything is pretty much the same. Satya, Treta, Dvapara, Kali. They're cycles, just like seasons. Is any season different than the other? Mostly seasons are the same. No? No? Experience is the same. Yeah, that's it. Maybe some details might be lightly different, but the essence is the same. Okay? Yes?
So, Prabhuji, you said that Shishumar structure, the pole star or the Dhruva star is the main. So, that is also one kind of Vaikuntha only, right?
Yeah, it is spiritual planet within the material world. It has a spiritual and material dimension to it.
So birth, death, old age, disease.
Within the spiritual dimension, of course, it's Dhruva is not affected. Okay, anything else? So last time what we showed one little video, no?
Yes.
Anybody was there? Okay. So we won't do that today, and the time is running. Okay, so there is a lot to talk about cosmology. This is just as I said, it's little purview. It's just little information that will give you some idea about it. But there is more about astronomy, and the essence of astronomy was that Srila Prabhupada wanted to use it to present from the Vedic point of view how the natural phenomena occurs. And that's what will be if you go to Mayapur. Devotees are building the temple of Vedic planetarium, and they're going to present these different features of the universe with all these different astronomical details about sun rising and setting, day and night, seasons, eclipses, moons, phases, and explaining it through the Vedic process, Vedic methodology. Because that's what science. So that's what Srila Prabhupada wanted. He wanted to present this Vedic science, Vedic astronomy, Vedic mathematics. Because it's enormous, it's amazing, and it's the most accurate science actually, without any speculation. So Prabhupada wanted to present, to make it credible. Because once you understand the science, then you will understand the pastimes behind also. That's like, there's a story about Ketu and Rahu. But Ketu and Rahu you can also predict, you can measure, you can do so many things. Yeah? So there are different levels of perception. Like we talked about, this subtle and gross. Yeah? Talked about dimensions and so many other things. So once you understand this, then we can appreciate all these different, and why different things happen. So that's also enormous, interesting science given in Jyotish Shastra. How the different planets influence each and every one of us. And what is the reason for that? Why some are inimical towards each other? Why some are friendly? Why this, why that? There are stories behind in the Shastras. You know the story, that's how every good Jyotish, he will understand why is this like that, why certain planets are like this. Because there is a story behind. There are curses, there are blessings, there are so many things attached to it. They know what happened. What was the relationship, why was this like that? And then when they see your chart, they'll figure things out so quickly, and then see your relationship with others and so forth and so forth. It's all there, it's all science. It's not just, gross calculations, but it's a science and description based on what is given in Shastra. So that's another very interesting thing that we can relate, that it's absolutely practical to our lives. Yeah? It's absolutely practical to our lives. You know something about the planets, their relationships, their positions, their time of their influence, then you'll understand in your life how it affects you also. So that's a science. Okay, so anyway, so what follows, it's this science of Jyotish, astronomy, which I said it's there in the Puranas, it's there in Siddhantas, there are so many, anybody been to Jaipur, or even in Varanasi, Ujjain, whatever, there's so many different yantras measured, there's so many, anyway, there's a lot to discuss now, different Siddhantas, that means different astronomical treatises, and then I'll just go through these different planets, you can see the time, measurement of time, the ages, you can see this Kalpa, Manvantar, Divya Yugas, then the ages, there are many also stories within other cultures about the cow and the earth, represented just like within Parikshit Maharaj, chastising Kali and so forth. And we talk about geocentric model, We talk about day and night seasons, we talked about eclipses, we talk about moon's phases. That's all part of the presentation. Vedic calendar, astronomy, different details. And then of course how the Shastras are ultimately proved by these different astronomical descriptions. Okay, any final question? So there's a lot of discussion, as I said, it's a lifetime of study. But it's very educative.
How can you play the video?
Play the video, it's too late for video.
Can you share it on the
I can show you this.
Is the earth revolving with the sun?
So it's according to the Vedas, the sun is revolving. So it's a geocentric, it's a geostatic system actually. Geostatic, it's also different. There's a difference. But between geocentric and heliocentric, many scientists, they, like you saw Mach, Einstein, or there are so many, they say it doesn't matter. You can't actually really figure out whether one thing goes another or another goes around the other one. Mathematically, both are correct. Okay, we'll stop here. We'll have a little kirtan. So Prabhupada ki jai or Premanande.
Hari Om.
Certain